the consciousness and the cosmos, a path to one's own inner cosmos. The Consciousness and the Cosmos podcast of Oxim, Planetary Service Center.
The materialism defines our relationship with the truth, given that for most people, truth is a material expression. In these encounters with Daniel Gallardo, the audience is presented with stimuli and concepts drawn from the inner life. The various topics arise from questions contributed by the audience, thereby permitting a valuable dynamic of communication and instruction. An in-depth exploration of cosmic life, spiritual laws, offering guidance for the current planetary transition. The founder and instructor of Cosmosophy, Line Uxin. When beings, individually or in groups, release expansive and disequilibrated psychic forces, those forces feed the global planetary layer, known as the psychic layer, fostering its densification. Conversely, when they gather in the name of a higher purpose, conforming a solid cyclical ceremony that also generates a beneficial, expansive effect. Energy that begins to circulate as a valuable and silent nourishment, responding to the index of receptivity that those who achieve attunement with that energy must sustain. Thus, beings who may be at distant points in this planetary universe, open to inner seeking, could become recipients of valuable energies and stimuli liberated by a cosmosophical root group such as Uxim. Recipients of the renewing energy emanating from a planetary service center in South America in the mountains of Córdoba, Argentina. A relationship that does not necessarily need to be conscious. Millions of individuals benefit without knowing it from the silent work that this group of pioneers sustains in support of the fulfillment of the evolutionary plan. Thus, just as involutive retrograde forces can potentially generate influences that test the human consciousness, a group that operates in the transformation and transcendence of old and unserviceable patterns of life and behavior will come to be consolidated as a valuable tool of the impulses of liberation, now offered by the hierarchy within the framework of the Earth's transition. The evolutionary group work and the ceremonial reunions it serves are part of the plasma that the cosmic heart propels in assistance of the upcoming planetary ascension. It is in the knowledge and deepening of silence that a being could align with the cosmic source that would conduct the process of colligation with renewing energies, thereby crossing the threshold into the unknown.
Here we share with you in this podcast collection of insightful planetary instruction given by the hierarchies that regulate the planetary transition. You are not being stimulated and accompanied, but so that the one purpose in you and through you is achieved. There are fields of life that will not be fulfilled until your realization is consummated to some degree. The ongoing adaptation of some aspects of the current treatment of the global situation, you well know, is due to you. You have great burdens, but you also have the energies of transmutation and liberation granted by the councils. Without noticing it, you navigate within the aura of our brotherhood, vivified by impulses that give you the perfect complement to your own solar fluid. We adapt for you an aura of cosmic reality that, without demanding you to abandon the world, even more prepares you to better serve it. When your consciousness back in the cosmos and in the night of Erks longs for that which it does not know, it experiences in a non-rational way the gifts of the intuitive world. The inner worlds within your microcosmic identity are revealed when you forget who you think you are and open yourself to the call of the monadic pilgrim, that you always were and always will be. We are waiting for you from eternity to form a pure inflorescence. Monadas and avatars of the internal and surface civilizations will conform it. From it, they will liberate, now without terror, the consciousness of the subhuman kingdoms, receiving from the light present in its nectar the love of a unique and divinized terrestrial humanity. Speaking of hierarchies, speaking of high elevated consciousness, cannot help it but think of complementary. Let's see what Daniel Gagliardo says about complementary. Is a gradual process because in order to complement each other, we need to understand in ourselves and in the other higher principles. For a being to complement another being, he must have genuinely perceived, not theoretically, the essence in himself, the cosmic life in himself. He must have confirmed, by alignment, his own inner cosmos. And he must have recognized it in the other also, the essence, the inner cosmos present in the other. Until one comes to recognize oneself and others in a superior way, complementary is very difficult. There is a rapprochement. There are empathic principles. There are aspects of the law of affinity, more basic, which are the ones that allow the initial union. But until a being can synchronize his inner planning and recognize in the other also an inner planning, inherent to the will of his inner consciousness, complementary is difficult to achieve. When a being advances in always partial recognition of their internal planning, that is to say, what they planned before incarnating and confirms in the other essence, cosmic life, light, is when they are preparing to enter a degree of union that has no turning back. The being that reached this point reached a degree of fusion as consciousness, of complementary as consciousness, which is very difficult to dissolve, because this process of complementary is based on the nourishment that the soul of each individual is providing, so that this fusion, this communion, can be lived. True complementary, true communion in matter between egos and personalities occurs when egos and personalities, in synchronicity with their own inner essence, respond to reality. Complementing ourselves is part of the evolutionary plan that beings have to know, deepen, and comply with. A being does not complement itself outside of its internal planning or outside of the fulfillment of the evolutionary plan. A being complements itself because it is necessary for this stage that this potentialization in the form of communion be the tool between several beings, between a group of beings, to adjust its role in evolutionary plan. That is to say, to do what has to be done for the planet. When complementary is not given, it is because there is still a sufficiently strong individuality. When a being can complement itself, when it can enter into communion, it is because the individuality, in a basic sense, three-dimensional and karmic, is practically polished and transcended. A being cannot be in complementary and at the same time have a highly active individuality, because it is incompatible. The energy of individuality and the energy of complementary, that is, of the set of consciousness in function of a higher fulfillment, are incompatible. Therefore, it is said that the ego and personality must subordinate themselves to the inner life and to the inner laws. To begin experiencing aspects of our relationship with the planet, the solar system, and the cosmos that differ from those we have encountered so far, which we have been constrained by the narrow and selfish perspective. It is essential for individuality to align with the common good, rather than seek to impose itself over it. We do not want to refer to complementary as the primary tool for working with the evolutionary plan. We might consider calling it the highest ethical principle, When an individual transcends their own individuality, they begin to embrace a very high ethical principle. True ethics is centered on the common good, and without complementary, there cannot be common good. Many individuals, even if they do not openly admit it, devote a significant part of their life's energy to selfish and personal goals. True complementary can occur when a person allows their energy to consistently flow in a way that supports universal objectives and contributes to the evolutionary plan. This shift involves forgetting one's own desires and placing the needs of the planet at the forefront of their consciousness, making these needs a fundamental priority. The individuals who have truly made a difference on this planet, whether known or unknown, are not those who seek fame and recognition. Instead, these remarkable beings contribute selflessly, dedicating their energy unconditionally to the evolutionary need. They move beyond personal ambitions and focus on universal goals. Achieving these universal goals requires transcending individuality.